Oh, my friend had a nanny who stole from her. She stole her bedding and some sheets. When she realized that they were missing, she asked her nanny and she said she has not seen them. And then a few weeks later, the nanny's daughter gave birth, and the nanny had her granddaughter as a profile picture on WhatsApp. And in the picture, her granddaughter was laying on the bed. Guess what the bed was covered with? Yep, my friend's bedding. And so when she saw this, she confronted her and she admitted, and she had to let her go. But she didn't just let her go. She went to press charges. Oh, she was so mad. Hello and welcome to the Nanny Employer Diary podcast. My name is Relebohile and I am your host. So it wasn't necessarily about the bedding, right? It was about the principle. I think she was also mad because she gave her her child's clothes that were no longer fitting for her granddaughter. And so she felt like she was taking advantage of her, considering all of that, you know. So before she went to the police station, she looked for her nanny's ID, and guess what? She couldn't find it. Her nanny was one step ahead of her. She took it because she knew that if my friend were to press charges, it was going to be hard to find her. And then my friend didn't know her physical address. She knew the area she lived in, but not the street name and house number and all of that. So I highly recommend that on the first week when you're onboarding your nanny, you not only make a copy of your nanny's ID, you should also scan and email them to yourself so that you can have a soft copy. And when it comes to a physical address, I recommend that you have a copy of her proof of residence. If she is renting a place where there is no lease agreement in place, you should draft a letter that will cover their landlord, verifying that they are renting at the address and have their contact details. If you want a template of the letter, the link to download it is in the description below. So my friend gets to the police station, right? She opens a case and explains she doesn't have her ID and doesn't know where she lives. The police then phone the nanny and they pretend to be looking for a domestic worker. They set up an interview to meet her and she fell for it. And then they met up with her. They took her in for questioning and she was crying. She was like, I didn't mean to. I just want my place to look a bit presentable when people come to see my granddaughter and all of that jazz, you know. Now the police are asking my friend to drop the charges. They were feeling sorry for her because she was the breadwinner and her daughter, who just had the child, was also not working at the time. So my friend dropped the charges. A similar incident happened to one of our clients last year when we were still operating as an agency, and we did all the checks with the nanny that we placed for them. In fact, with this particular nanny, she was referred to us by her previous employer. So the first time she stole my client's mother's earrings, and she was also using her lotion without asking for her permission. So they confronted her and she apologized and they let it slide and decided to still keep her. They decided to still keep her because besides her stealing the stuff, before all of that, she was a great fit. And they struggled most of last year to get someone who is the right fit. And they did not tell me when she stole for the first time. They dealt with that privately. Now, a month or two later, the nanny calls me, tells me she doesn't think she's going to last on that job because they are mistreating her. I phoned the client to find out what is going on, and that is when they tell me about her stealing earrings and using her his mother's lotion and stuff, and about the other things that has been going on. So I phoned the nanny back and she denies stealing the earrings, but admits that she was using some of their stuff without asking for permission first. And she tells me that she will stick around and won't resign because she needs the income. She wanted to leave because she was feeling guilty and felt she disappointed them. So now that they've given her a chance, she's appreciative, right? How? Okay, then I thought it was sorted, but it turns out that it wasn't, because a month after that, she tried stealing again. Luckily, they found the things in her bedroom. So how they found out, it was her weekend off, right? And she was insisting that she wants to leave early. And then they saw her packing all her clothes. That is when they knew that she's not going to come back. And because she has stolen before, they told her that they need to search her bags before she leaves. And guess what? She packed some of their stuff too. She packed the guy's new sneakers, his watches, and she also took some sheets. So they called me and let me know about what happened. I called the nanny to find out her side of the story, and she doesn't answer my call. She blocks me. Oh, I tell them that let's go press charges, and it's like, nah, it's going to be time consuming. And they just didn't see a point in pressing charges for earrings because they recovered the other stuff that she packed. So they said there's no point, they'll just let her be and move on. I then called her references, including the lady that referred her to me. They were all shocked. They were like, who? She did what? No ways. There is no way she would do that. She was very trustworthy when she worked for us. So I asked, are there cameras in your house? And she said, nope. And I was a bit puzzled. I asked myself, did she steal because my clients, they are black and the previous employers were white? I'm not trying to be controversial, but it was quite alarming as to why she was the total opposite when she worked for black people, you know? But then again, she said that they were mistreating her. And that is not an excuse for her to steal, right? But here's the thing with my client, right? They struggled getting a nanny who's a right fit for them. They probably had about 6 nannies last year alone. And this is quite common when a nanny feels mistreated and they know that they are going to leave. They start having a scarcity mindset because they know that they will be without an income for a while. So the best thing that they could do is steal things that they will sell while looking for another job. And stealing is wrong, period. So the mistake I made when I was running the agency, I did not thoroughly vet clients. I focused on doing background checks on the nannies. And it is a red flag when a client tells you that they've had 3 nannies in the past 6 months and they're not taking any responsibility on why the relationships are not working out. It is always the nanny's fault. You know, it's one thing if parents are aware of their shortcomings and they are accounting for some of the reasons why it did not work out with other nannies, right? And I learned this the hard way. It is not worth it being excited for a sale only to find out that the placement fee was not worth all the drama, you know? So I'm not trying to scare you off hiring a nanny if it is the first time you're going to hire a nanny. I'm just mentioning these stories so that you can be observant and vigilant in your home because these things happen. You cannot afford to be aloof. And also telling you so that you can take the results that you get from criminal checks and reference checks with a grain of salt, because with these stories that I just told you about the nannies, they walked away scot-free and are probably employed somewhere. Even if those employers did criminal checks on them, they came back as clear. And besides hiring a nanny, whichever childcare option you choose, there are risks involved. We have seen how other daycares abuse the kids. So even with that, you have to do your own due diligence. You must also not let the outside noise about the nanny stories to influence you not trusting anyone that you decide to hire, because you are going to create a hostile environment for your nanny, and it's not going to be fair on them. Having said all of this, I highly recommend that you should not skip this process of doing background checks and reference checks before you hire anyone. If you are using an agency, you should request the paperwork of criminal checks and the contact details for reference checks. If you are not using an agency, there are services like FSwitch where you can get the criminal checks results in 48 hours, or you can request your nanny to get a police clearance even though it can take weeks. So with reference checks, as I've said before, you should take them with a grain of salt, as every family has a different experience with the nanny, right? Some families are toxic. They will bad name the nanny without giving you context. This is why you should invest time in interviews and do more than one reference check so that you can make an informed decision. But most importantly, you must listen to your gut. So the whole point of reference checks is to verify what's on the CV and to hear what the nanny said during the interview if it correlates with what their previous employer said about them, right? In the free nanny employer guide that I've created, there are questions you need to ask when you are doing reference checks. and you can download the guide. The link is in the bio. The other thing I want to talk about is how private household employers have an open mind with potential nannies during an interview if the nannies are asking them difficult or awkward questions. So nannies don't have the privilege of researching about your family before they come to the interview. Unlike when you're looking for a job in corporate, you can go to Glassdoor or Indeed for reviews, or you can go to LinkedIn and DM people that have previously worked in that company to ask about the working environment, right? Nannies don't have that privilege. They only have the interview to really assess if the environment is a safe space and a space for them to work. And some nannies have been through some traumatic experiences in the previous working place, like they have experienced physical and mental abuse. They've been sexually harassed. Some have been overworked and underpaid and verbally abused. And so they might not have the right language to articulate their safety concerns, but will probably ask certain questions that might be awkward to you. And because they can't necessarily give you the full context, because we are taught not to speak badly about our previous employees, and that's what will make the questions a bit offish and awkward. And that is why I'm saying you should keep an open mind during interviews and not get turned off and discount the name solely based on them being curious about their safety concerns. We should actually get in the habit of asking our previous nannies for reference letters also, and be transparent about our previous working relationships, and allow the nannies to also do their own due diligence and phone our previous nannies to ask them about our management styles and how we were treating them. This will be more ideal for nannies that already have an income. Because imagine a nanny that is currently working with a great family and they see a job ad that gives them an opportunity to earn more money, and they go for this interview where the family is toxic, even if they're offering them more money, and they don't do their due diligence. They are obviously going to regret leaving their previous job. Income, things like doing their due diligence might not be their primary focus, as they need the income, but it would still be great for the information to be presented to them regardless. I feel like I should recap the main points for this episode. So firstly, you should take criminal checks and reference checks with a grain of salt. And then you should keep soft copies of your nanny's ID and proof of residence. You should also ensure that your nanny feels trusted in her job, and at the same time, you should be observant and vigilant in your home. And then lastly, be open-minded during interviews when you are asked safety-related questions. And that's it for this episode. Let me know your main takeaways. What else would you also add on? And also share this with someone who is currently looking for a nanny. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until the next upload, take care.